Hi, so Futurum. Let me just introduce myself first before going into what we do. So my name is Karen. I'm the director and co-founder of Futurum Careers. I'm the, oh, you probably can't see me there actually, but I'm one of 4 children. We grew up, well, the eldest of 4 children. We grew up on a piece of land in a caravan. My dad left school at the age of 14. That wasn't through choice. It was through necessity to earn money. My mum got a little bit higher in the education system. She's French, so she managed to get her baccalaureate. But again, she came from a family that didn't encourage women into careers. Her job really was to have children. So my family were very, very ambitious for all of us, but they didn't have the resources. They didn't have the networks to be able to tell us where to go. So we did feel, and I certainly felt, quite rudderless and directionless. I didn't really know where to start or where to go. And coupled with that, it was the fact that at school, the careers advice was quite minimal. So I remember being given a questionnaire, and you'd answer out this questionnaire, and then it basically came out saying, you know, you'd make a good librarian, and that was about the extent of it. So yeah, with this kind of background in mind, I kind of went into the arts, which was great, obviously, but I was also very much interested in the sciences. But there were no real role models for me, and nobody that I could look up to. I couldn't see any female scientists. I couldn't see myself reflected in anybody. So it was kind of more decisions I was making through not very much knowledge. I went from university to working as a journalist. I worked abroad. I taught. But I've also had jobs. I've worked in a bakery. I worked in a supermarket. All of these things. And eventually, I started working for a science communication agency. And it was there that I met Brett, who is co-founder with me, who also has a very eclectic career. And he approached, no, so then we worked there for about 4 or 5 years, something like that. And then we were made redundant, which unfortunately is quite common these days. And then he approached me and said he's got this idea for Futurum Careers. And I jumped at it, and mainly because, so if I tell you about what Futurum Careers is, so it's a free teaching resource for use in schools and at home. And so when Brett came to me with this idea, I was absolutely like, yes, I want to do this. So as I said, it's a free teaching resource for use in schools and at home. It's aimed at 14 to 19-year-olds, but really that's just the kind of guidance, really. I mean, even myself, when I read my resources, I'm like, oh, I'd quite like to get into, you know, I'm actually thinking of studying geography because that would take me there and there and here. And I'm still thinking that now, even aged 45. So yeah, it's a careers guidance tool, and it's free to download. It's absolutely free. It's available on Scientix, which is European. It's on TES. It's on Teachers Pay Teachers as a free resource. It's on the European Geosciences Union. So that's what I really want to highlight. This is all free. So what do we do? Right, well, we take real world research projects and we translate them into a resource that you can use either in home or in the classroom. And we work with researchers all over the world. And what we do is that we take real life, we take research projects, we look at their papers, they send us their papers, they send us abstracts, and we write them a set of interview questions. And then we take these very, very technical, very technical research, and we turn them into articles. So this one, for example, is about how we can understand languages. How do they evolve? We've got, how is yeast helping us to understand cell biology? And yeah, here's another one about animation. Can animation help you with mental health? So We work with a team of science communicators who are very, very skilled in turning this very highly technical and quite hard to understand language into something that's very understandable for, as I said, for 14 to 19-year-olds. And we cover all subjects, that's STEM and SHAPE. STEM you'll probably recognise, that's science, technology, engineering, maths and medicine. And SHAPE, that's relatively new. It's sort of here to replace STEAM, I think, and it's social science, humanities and the arts for people in the economy. So those are the subjects we cover. We cover all of those subjects. So let's take an article and let's break it down and see exactly what we do. So we introduced we have a little box there, as you can see, where it profiles the researcher, very small. We've introduced the research project. We say who their funder is. We include very striking images to make it sort of, papers look quite dry. They tend to be just text or diagrams. So we use very striking images. We have a glossary of keywords, so we call it the talk like. So in this case, in Fabrice's case, it's talk like a cellular and molecular biologist, because that's what he does. And then we have this article, we create an article that summarizes the research. And it summarizes the research. So it's about what they do, why they do it, and eventually what that might lead to. And then if we can go into the next part of the article, we then talk about their field. So as I said, Fabrice is a cellular molecular biologist. So we go into greater depth. What is cellular molecular biology? For example, so diseases like meningitis or malaria or cancer, these are examples of diseases that are caused by cellular or molecular problems. And so we need biologists to be working on these problems. And so beneath that, we also have a section called Explore a Career in this field. And this is where we point to organisations that might have relevant resources for you to look at. So for example, Queen Mary University of London, which is where Fabrice works, has a scheme called has the Centre of the Cell, sorry, and they have a youth mentorship scheme, so that's listed there. And then we have the pathway section, and there it's sort of recommending subjects that you should take if you want to follow in Fabrice's footsteps. So for example, it recommends biology, of course, but there might be subjects you might not think of. For example, chemistry, physics and maths will stand you in very good stead if going in and following Fabrice's footsteps is something that you want to do. We also have top tips. Oh, I'm forgetting to do the links here. Top tips. So this is from the researcher themselves. It's from their experience. They like to give some advice. And so, for example, Fabrice, one of his tips is really think about, if you want a career as a researcher, think about, do you really want to move around cities or countries, because that's what you will generally be doing. And so this kind of section here gets you really thinking about their research project, but giving it context to it and how you might be able to follow in those footsteps. We also include, we introduce the researcher, we ask them questions about themselves. I think it's very easy to think of scientists and researchers as people that we can't emulate. They seem to be very incredibly intelligent. Perhaps we can't see ourselves in those fields. And so we interview them and we get a sense of who these people are. So for example, Fabrice is really into comics. He loves them, and he's even created a comic about his research with others. And we also can meet other members of the team. We introduce other members of his team. So here, for example, is Henry, Dr. Henry Oman. He's a postdoctoral research assistant in Fabrice's lab, and he's Nigerian, and he's really into charity work. He works with homeless people. So this information really gives a sense of who these people are, and that you know, they're very well-rounded people, just like you and I. Okay, so ask our researchers questions. So another resource that we offer is the ability to ask the researchers that we feature questions. So I was doing an interview yesterday with an artist scientist, so an artist who works with scientists, and he was saying that you know, the best thing that he advises people to do is to talk to people, approach people. You know, what can people say? They can only say no. And is that really a problem if they do? And the more you reach out to people, ask them questions. So things like this SparkED conference is absolutely ideal for that. And the speakers that we've seen today, I mean, wonderful advice, but reach out to them if there's something that you think that they can offer you. And this is what we do through Futurum as well. So on the online article, if you scroll right to the bottom of each of the article, you can write a question in the comments box and the researcher will reply. I mean, it might take a few days, but they will reply to your question. As well as part of the article, we also have as I said, I'm going on about the striking images that we include. So it might be of the science. So here's a picture of a cell, or it might be images relating to the researcher to show that that then they're interesting people with lots of hobbies. So for example, here's Fabrice juggling, and there's also an image of his comic work that he's been doing. Accompanying our articles are activity sheets. Now, these activity sheets are structured in a way that you can do them at home or you can do them in the classroom. You can do either. The talking points are questions that are linked to Bloom's taxonomy. I don't know if you know about this, but I'll talk about that in a little while. So the talking points are to make you think about what you've just read, but also extends that into critical thinking and thinking beyond the research that you've just read. There are also relevant activities or experiments that you can do that relate to biology, and you can actually do these at home. And we also link to organisations that offer even more free resources. So for example, again, the Centre of the Cell has such a wide range of education materials that you can access. What is Bloom's taxonomy? Well, it's a set of questions. Well, it's a learning experience with levels of complexity. So therefore, in terms of our questions, it's really taking you through from just remembering something that you've read to then be able to create something from that, evaluating it and analysing it, which is an incredibly important skill. You know, learning by rote is not enough. You really need and certainly if you're passionate about something, this will come naturally anyway. But we know that learning by rote is not the best way to get forward, and so therefore we need to be thinking about outside the box. And so this is what our questions aim to do. As I said, we work with researchers all over the world. So we have translations of some of our articles, for example, in French, in Spanish. This one's in Dutch. I mean, this could be a way for you to learn a language in a different way. We also offer PowerPoints that summarize the article. So again, it follows the same sequence as the article. It covers the same sections. It talks about the research project, it introduces the researchers, and then it summarizes the career options that you might be able to have through doing this. And again, there are talking points there relating to Bloom's. We also offer animations. This is quite a new thing actually that we're doing. So we're also on YouTube, but very new. So we only have a few at the moment, but we're working on these. And these accompany, again, our research articles. So they summarize the main points, but in an animation form. And with that, you can download the script, all for free. Now, role models, I touched on it very slightly in terms of my own experience. I do think that role models are incredibly important. I think that when you can see yourself reflected in someone, it's goes a long way. And also if these role models can help you in some way, my mentors, this is again is incredibly important. And so we have articles about people that we feel are an incredible role models. So for example, we featured very recently Shruq El Attar. She has been, she is the BBC's 100 top women, most influential women. She's also an engineer. She's been voted engineer, young engineer of the young women engineers in the UK, and she's also LGBTQ plus, and she's a refugee. So she has all of these. She's overcome many, many challenges to become highly influential and a wonderful engineer. We also have the article, for example, with David Aguilar. So David Aguilar, he, very interesting story. He was born without a forearm. When he was about 14, he fell in love, but unfortunately he was shunned by the one he loved. And so he was very upset, wouldn't come out of his room. And then he just picked himself up and decided to build himself his own Lego arm, which is what he's done. And he's come from that. And now he's a TED speaker. He's starting his own company, helping others. He studies bioengineering. Here's another example, Cesar. Now, Cesar was a gang member in South America. He was a part of the gang culture, and he eventually got to a point where he realized that his life was in danger and that of his family too. And he decided he really needed to change. And so he moved to Spain and is working as a research project that looks at whether gangs can teach us about empathy, respect and solidarity. We also offer articles about organizations, so not just about people, but organizations too. So here's one about SparkED that we did very, very recently, thanks to Parry. A wonderful interview that I did with Parry. She told me all about how she started her business. Again, you know, that's a very entrepreneurial spirit, how she started, the inspiration behind that. But again, more about her the organization and the many volunteers that are working there and the incredible work that they're doing with students all over the world and in the US. Here's another example with BMW Education. So they offer so many apprenticeship schemes, free resources again for the classrooms. And I think this was mentioned in the earlier session. There are so many resources out there. So really, you know, think about what interests you and just go for it. Start researching and approach these people. Again, another example is Lego Education. And so what we do is all of this information is encapsulated into our magazine, which is at the moment bi-monthly. And our latest issue there, issue 9, with Shruq on the cover. And that's our latest issue. Okay, so how do you get involved with us? Well, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Pinterest, we're on LinkedIn, we're now on YouTube. That's kind of growing, our animations are growing. And we also have a newsletter that we send out once a month. It's only sent out once a month, but in that newsletter, we put all of the information, all of the latest articles and resources that have come up in that month. So if rather than you needing to search on our online website, you can sign up and it will come to you into your inbox. And there we go. Does anyone have any questions for me?
If anybody has any questions, feel free to either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. But if not, we can move on. And if anybody does have questions at a later time, don't hesitate to reach out to Karen herself, or we can provide any contact information in the follow-up email if you would like to reach out to Futurum and try to get involved that way. But thank you so much once again for presenting and teaching us all about Futurum.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Lindsay. And if anyone wants to get involved with Futurum, they have a lot of opportunities, as we already know, and as we learned through this session. So if you're interested in getting involved, helping promote STEAM and SHAPE, feel free to contact Miss Lindsay. We've also interacted with Futurum on our Instagram, if that's a way you want to get in touch, or also Neha has inputted a lot of their contacts. So you can reference that and take a look there. And thank you so much, Miss Lindsay, for sharing. And we're honored to have you as a partner.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such an honor. Thank you.